All right, so here we are in a conference room in Johnson Pavilion, and we are with David. So, David, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yep, so my name is David Sidibe. I'm a third year in the cell molecular biology program, and subprogram is developmental stem cell and regenerative biology. And I'm currently in the Mayday lab, and we study autophagy in neurons and astrocytes. And so one of the things I like to do in my free time is I'm just a lover of plants. So I have about 30 or so in my small studio apartment, and just like taking care of them, reading up on the best ways to take care of them. And when I was at my parents' house a few months ago, where they have a garden, I used to go out every day and tend to the plants and make sure they're watered and everything. So just something about nature sort of brings me to them.
Yeah, that sounds so nice. Do you also then have like herbs and stuff like cilantro and green onions, that type of?
Yes, so actually for last Christmas I got an herb garden. It's
nice.
called Arrow Garden. And so you can sort of grow herbs or vegetables or whatever you want in this it's sort of like grow them in water essentially. So yeah, I have a separate garden just for herbs, but I also have like rosemary and what do you call it? Yeah, so other herbs that I don't cook with, but I like to have them because they're aromatic. So
that's awesome. All right, so the next question is why Penn? So why did you decide to come to Penn?
Yeah, so there were a couple reasons. So first I've sort of grown to like Philadelphia the more time I spend here. So I went to college nearby in a suburb of Philadelphia. It's called Haverford College, and so I used to come into Philly a lot, and just sort of really like the vibe of the city. After that, I was a research technician for 2 years at the University of Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
And so where I actually lived in the city. And so I think one of the reasons I came to Penn is just I feel like the city has a place for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I live in West Philly, and I think it's just a really chill, relaxed, laid back sort of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the downtown center city, where if you're more interested in a more vibrant city life, then you can live there. And then there's a place for hipsters, people who, in South Philly.
So I feel like at like Grad Hospital area.
Yeah,
that's me.
Yeah. That's you.
Yeah, that's where I live.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. But there's a place I think for everyone in the city. There's a lot of different communities where I feel like people can feel safe or people feel welcome. I'm also in a plant group, going back to that topic. It's called like Philly Plant Exchange. So it's just a lot of people, if you have any issues with plants, you can reach out to them, or if you want to exchange plants, trade things, buy them. And it's just like a really welcoming space. So I think that sort of speaks to the sort of welcoming environment in Philadelphia. So that's why, so when I was choosing grad school, I was sort of looking for places in Philly. And why I sort of chose Penn in particular sort of goes back to when I was a research technician. I got the opportunity to see the environment at Penn, and I found out that it was very, very highly collaborative and sort of welcoming of lots of different ideas. In the lab that I was a research technician in, we had joint lab meetings with 2 other labs, and they were sort of tangentially related to what we did, but is sort of just one part of the lab. So like for one of our projects, we would like have a joint lab meeting with them,
right.
And then there's another part of our lab that worked on something else, and we had a joint lab meeting with another group. And then later on, I joined another lab, and we had a joint lab meeting with clinicians.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so it was just and that I just talking from other people at Penn, I saw that was a very common thing, and I'm sure that it sort of exists at Penn, but at places outside of Penn, but I think it just made me feel like very welcoming of people who are very collaborative and very welcoming of new ideas, and it's a very vibrant environment in that sense. Another thing that drew me to the program was I sort of, from the beginning of when I started getting into research, really was interested in having some sort of clinical translational component to my training, and so I noticed that the program had a certificate program, graduate training in medical sciences, GTMS. And once they try and add a more translational and clinical research or an understanding or education to your basic research. And so that's something that I found to be fairly unique at Penn. And all the other schools I interviewed at, they maybe had a couple classes you could take, but I don't think it was as involved as it was at Penn. So for example, like you have a curriculum, a few classes you have to take, but there's also this what's called a clerkship program, in which you sort of shadow a doctor or a clinician or someone, so a doctor or clinician, either doing surgeries or treating their patients, and so you get to sort of see what it's like to be in that position. And
this is part of the certificate program?
Yes, this is part of the certificate. I think you have to do it by the end of your 4th year.
Oh, nice.
And it's not a huge time commitment, but it still allows you to see what it's like.
Right.
So that's sort of the training that I wanted to have as a student, and I couldn't really find a program like that anywhere else, and it was a big part of why I decided to join Penn.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So here we are on the 2nd floor of Johnson Pavilion. As you can see, the Department of Microbiology is on this floor. You can see Sunny Shin's lab is on this floor as well. And so here we are with David again, who is going to tell us what's one of your favorite spots here on campus.
Yeah, so one of my favorite spots here on campus is actually in this building on the ground floor, the biomedical library. And so it's this really huge, humongous, spacious library, very spaced out desks and everything, and it's just, for me, it was a great place, especially during my 1st and 2nd years when I had classes where I could just pop in after lab or something real quick, and just do some studying, or maybe if I needed a quiet place to do some analysis, I could just pop in. I just popped in real quick to do a little work. So as I said, it's humongous, very spacious, and it's just sort of allowed me to focus in the zone. It also had printers, so in my 2nd rotation, when I didn't have access to a printer, it was a great place to print stuff out. You can order books, or you can loan books from there, and so it was just, a space that was often quiet, where I could just focus whenever there was some downtime, focus and do some work.
Yeah, and so when you're not studying in the biomed library, what do you do around Philly that you like?
So what I like to do is so on the weekends I typically there's a farmer's market in Clark Park, which is in West Philadelphia, and so on the weekends sometimes I like to go there and sort of see what local food's available and stuff. But just in general, Clark Park is a really nice space so it's about a 2-block sort of area, and you often see on the weekends a lot of people just relaxing and sitting in the park, and so sometimes I like to go and stroll through the park and just sort of enjoy the weekend, enjoy the time I have off before I have to get back to work. But yeah, so I typically go to Clark Park. And I generally like to relax and play guitar
Oh,
every
nice.
once in a while. Yeah, just whatever I can do to, take my mind off work for a little bit and
Yeah.
enjoy Philly and just, yeah.
And so this is Johnson Pavilion is connected to another building. I guess it's to Stemler, which is very convenient, right, during the winter when so you don't have to go outside.
Yeah.
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 Which is very cool. All right, so here we are in the lobby of Johnson Pavilion. So with David again, and so this actually on this side is the entrance to the biomed library, which is closed right now for safety reasons due to COVID, but you can see that you can 3D print in the biomed library, and so you would go in. Right, so we are with David again, and so David, can you tell us a little bit about the extracurricular activities that you're part of here at Penn?
Yeah, so recently I've joined a couple different committees. So both of them are dealing with, the sort of over the past few months we've been, really what's coming to light is the racial injustice that is happening, in the U.S. and around the world. And so I'm in a couple different committees that are really focusing on trying to improve the issues of racial injustice and racial inequities that are found in science and in academia. And so one of the committees I'm in was formed by my graduate group, and so it's the DSRB Anti-Racism Committee. And so we're really focusing again on coming up with initiatives, actionable items that can really, make an improvement in terms of the diversity and inclusion at Penn. And so we've come up with a few different initiatives, and one of the ones we've done recently is we've invited students from historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, to attend our symposium, the CAM Symposium, where it's just a symposium for people within the program to sort of show their research, and they have career panels as well. And so we sort of thought of this as an opportunity to invite students from HBCUs to sort of take part in perhaps their first symposium that they've attended, and sort of get a better understanding of what it's like being a grad student or doing grad PhD research, and sort of get a better idea of what sort of careers are open to students after they get their PhD. And so we also had a meeting beforehand in order to tell them more about grad school in general, about CAM in particular, and also sort of tips of how to have a successful experience at a scientific meeting such as the symposium. So again, we really hope that they took advantage of it to really understand more about grad school and life and science at Penn, but just in general.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the other initiatives that we're talking about doing, and one of them we're actively starting, is the DSRB Anti-Racism Book Club, where we're going to be discussing literature surrounding, on how to be a better anti-racist. And so one unique thing about it is it's not only students who are doing it, but also faculty who are often, tend to be older and whiter, and may not be as aware of the issues that are surrounding underrepresented minorities.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that this is coming from both, or is happening with both students and faculty, I think is sort of will allow them to allow us as a unit to be more involved and really understand what's issues that are affecting underrepresented students on campus. And so in terms of, in my other committee, it's the CRIC committee, which is the Combating Racial Inequities Committee. This is a joint grad student postdoc initiative headed by the directors of the programs involved. And we're really trying to, get input from the students, the faculty, the postdocs, the staff in the School of Medicine on what the issues are surrounding racial injustice, racial inequity on campus at Penn and in general, and make recommendations to the sort of the higher ups, the ones in charge of making more policy decisions at Penn, in order to make recommendations on how we can improve the environment at Penn, how we can improve resources for underrepresented minorities at Penn, and just sort of how we can make this a more inclusive environment. And so currently we're working on making a survey to address all these issues. And so we're really excited to see the responses, and really excited to make recommendations on how to improve the lives of people and underrepresented minorities on campus. So those are sort of the things in the recent months I've really taken on and really been inspired to do over in light of the recent events.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing those initiatives that you guys are putting forward. That's awesome. All right, David, so what are we looking at here?
So this is the Mayday Labs confocal microscope. And so what we're able to do with this is it uses really fine-tuned lasers of different colors to sort of excite the fluorescent molecules in our sample, and then that sort of gets captured by a camera, which we can use to image proteins of interest, or in live cells, or in our fixed samples. And so the way it works is that we would load our sample here. So we would open this up, move this, and if we had a slide, we would load it here, and push it together. Then we would raise the objective up, which is this thing right here, until it comes into contact with our sample. And once it does, we close this again, and that's when we can start our imaging. So we have to turn off the light in order to image, otherwise we'll get a lot of background signal.
All right, so let's see what this can do.
All right, so I'm going to turn on the light here, and then what you do is you look through, focus on the cell of interest that you think looks particularly nice, and then once you do, you switch to the laser. And once you find the cell, put it in focus, we can then start to image. So as you notice, the system is switching between different lights, and so what that allows us to do is to excite different fluorophores at different points, and see in different our different proteins of interest. See our different proteins of interest. So yes, if we had a sample here, we'd see something of interest. But yeah, so this is sort of how it works.
Very cool.